Survivor 50 was just announced, and I have some considerations for this season.
Survivor 50 will be returning players, and you all are a part of it. All right.
Now, we don't really know pretty much anything about this season besides the fact that Jeff is going to make it a returning players season. Anyone is on the table, not just new era players. So I would like to share my opinions on who should be cast for Survivor 50. I only had a few stipulations, really. 20 people, half of them are men and half of them are women. Did my best to not pick any winners, but I do have 2 male winners and 2 female winners. And I did my best to balance my choices. I didn't try and pick too many villains, and I did not try to pick too many heroes. I also tried to pick people that would realistically come back for Survivor seasons, minus a few wild cards. But this is just for fun. I'm really only doing this because I want to share my thoughts on what I would like to see in a mega season like Survivor 50. So without further ado, here are my top considerations for Survivor 50. With number 1, we're going for a more obvious pick, but we are going to be choosing Christian Hubicki from Survivor 37, David vs. Goliath. I think just about everyone wants to see Christian play again. Not only is he extremely smart and extremely kind, he also has a really good social game that he plays. He was taken out ultimately due to Gabby Pascuzzi flipping on him. I don't really blame her though. He could have easily won if he was anywhere close to the end, right? But we need more Christian on our screen. This man is a national treasure. Speaking of national treasures, next up we got Carolyn Weger, or Weiger. Is it Weger? Carolyn is so authentically herself, and she is one of the best casting decisions they've made in the new era. In my opinion, she is one of the funniest and most entertaining people we have gotten on our television screens since most of the cast of David vs. Goliath, right? But I want to see her play again, just for the fact that she is so entertaining, so good to us. She does not deserve to be put at rest in the Survivor lore as a 0-vote finalist. She needs more story. Next up, I have a somewhat controversial pick, but I'm picking Coach. I mostly picked him because if this is going to be a Legends season, right, I think Coach needs to be there. One of the first villains that I'm picking for my fan cast here, I think Coach is one of the more unique villains, not because he is really taking out his villainy out on anyone else, but it's because of his lack of self-awareness and his arrogance that makes him so despisable to some and loved by many. They should bring back Exile Island for this season just to put him back on there, just so we can have another incredible episode like we had when he went the first time.
But Coach Wade still has what it takes to outlast anybody out here in this environment.
I don't think Coach is even that bad at the game. I think that in his situation with South Pacific, he had a cast that would have gone to the end with him and wanted him to win, but he failed so horribly at Final Tribal Council that he lost it all. I know a lot of people are sick of Coach, but me personally, I think it would be really interesting to see him in a new era season with the people that I picked. Did someone say a woman's alliance? Because my next pick is Natalie Bolton from Survivor Micronesia Fans vs. Favorites on the Fans Tribe. She was one of the few people cast on both of the Fans Tribes from 16 and 26 to really stand out and sort of become her own. Her alliance with Parvati and the women in that season still remains one of the most interesting alliances to date. I do think that her return would be surprising and exciting for a lot of viewers. Sometimes I feel like Natalie Bolton gets lost in the ethos of that season since Parvati did win, but we really should be giving a lot of credit to Natalie as well. I also want to point out this cast photo. one of the coolest cast photos the show has ever had. And I thought about now, after doing this video, of doing a cast photo ranking or something like that, because this was just like top tier out of all the ones that I saw. Still digging into some of the older seasons, we have Shawn Rector from Survivor Marquesas. Shawn Rector is maybe my most underrated player on this list. I believe Boston Rob said that if he could have anyone back from his original season, it would be him. I found him to be really refreshing on that season. The way he talked about race relations and the way he saw the game was really bold, in my opinion, especially for the time. Was it 2002?
It's nice to bond with somebody who understands. A lot of things are cultural. You know, there are certain things with black people, we don't even have to finish thoughts, and we already know where we are. Aside from us, the other 5 are different, but the commonality bond that bonds them is that. Even the fact that you and I are sitting here talking right now can be perceived as
we're strategizing.
That we're strategizing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the game isn't necessarily fair because me and her are playing a whole nother mental game that they don't even know.
And this guy was also funny as hell. I mean, he went on one of the funniest rewards that I believe I've ever seen. I do also think more people from Marquesas should be asked back in general. I do have someone else from Marquesas that's going to show up later. That season really defined a lot of the way the game is played now. And I believe Shawn and other people on that season are a big reason for that. Next up, we got Angelina Keeley from Survivor David vs. Goliath. She is also someone who I believe everyone wants to see back. If she's not in Survivor 50, I'm not quite sure what the casting department is really thinking by not asking her back. For one, she did literally change the game by introducing the rice negotiation. She's also hilarious and has made some of the funniest and most iconic moments of Survivor ever. And generally, I think that this is a realistic pick. I think there's a big campaign for her returning. All right, next up, we got one of my favorite players of all time, Rob Cesternino from the Amazon, Season 6. The way he played the game in the Amazon was ahead of its time. I think he would honestly fare well in a modern season. He has a huge fan base still because of the Rob Has a Podcast community, which I'm a part of. His confessionals are really good. I think he makes great television. His modern game would be really interesting to see, just see how his game has evolved. And I know he talks about the game a lot. I would love to see that translated into him playing the game. I believe he's still kind of on the fence about returning. I don't think he really thinks he's going to be asked to come back, but if it ends up being like a fan vote, I think that he would get a lot of votes to come back. Oh man, this one's a bit controversial, but I chose Shan from Survivor 41. Now hear me out, right? She is extremely hypocritical, and between her and Ricard, I was struggling to pick really who I would want to see back again. I decided on Shan ultimately because I think she makes better TV, and I wanted to add a bit of chaos into the season that I'm crafting here, right? I thought it'd be funny to see her teamed up with Coach. I don't really know why. It's just it's out there. I put that in the universe, right? If that happened, it might just create like a black hole and we would all get like sucked up into it. But another reason I put her on here is because in that first season, I think people didn't like her because she seemed a little bit too produced. I think her humming her little tune was like kind of cringy. But I think if there was like something in her that told her just to be a little bit more herself, it might be interesting to see like a character arc, you know? Sometimes like the best picks for like a returnee season are like the least obvious, you know? I mean, if you're thinking about some of the best returnees like Parvati in Micronesia, you know, she was not really like huge in Cook Islands, but she came back and now she's one of the most popular players on the show. All right, next we got Dominic Abate from Ghost Island. I picked him purely just because he was the closest player to ever winning and not win with that tie vote at Final Tribal Council. But I also picked him because he is extremely smart, and I think he has a good chance of going far. I want to see him sipping some more coffee. I want to see him be on a good season in general, because Ghost Island was terrible. Kind of sticking with my 30s theme, right? I chose Chrissy Hoffbeck. I like Chrissy a lot. I know that some people aren't like a huge fan of her, or probably just like scratch their heads and are like, who? But if you're a true fan, I think you like Chrissy Hoffbeck. I think ultimately I was rooting for her for most of the season because of my disdain for how powerful Ben was in that endgame. She did get the underdog edit. If she came back and she redeemed herself, made some big moves, played in a more modern season where at this point there's like less twists now than there were in the 30s.
All right, you. But before I can think much further about that, I need to get away privately to read my secret advantage. You will choose one person to sit... You will choose one person to sit next to you at the final tribal council, forcing the two remaining players to earn their way to the end by battling it out in a fire-making challenge.
But she did get kind of screwed by a poorly timed fire-making change in the game. All right, we got another obvious one. Jesse Lopez from season 43. I put him on here mostly because he is an obvious pick. I think the move that he made on Cody is an era-defining move, because ever since that season, I think people have been replicating that and taking out their number ones before they get to the end. Season 46 is not over yet, but there has been a running theme in that season so far where people have been taking out their number ones before they get to the end. I think Jesse deserves a lot of praise for this move and for his game, and I think a way to thank him would be inviting him back and seeing him play again. All right, we're gonna reel it back a little bit here. I'm going to really go hard on some old era players because those are the people we really want to see back the most. So we got Vesepia Towery from Survivor Marquesas. Again, I have 4 winners on this 20-person list, 2 men, 2 women. And I chose Vesepia because she was an era-defining winner that did not get the credit she deserved. Although she won, and although she did change the game, I don't feel like enough people talk about her. Her social game, her understanding of human beings, which was a big part of the game back then, and her focus on winning the game is really, really interesting to watch. It would be awesome to see her return, and it would be awesome to see her win again if she could. Next up for winners that I want to see back is Earl Cole from Survivor Fiji. I mean, just look at this picture. I mean, like, how could you not want Earl back? I mean, he's so lovable. I mean, to start, I mean, he won on Survivor Fiji, and now they're back in Fiji. And if he won again, that would be one of the coolest narratives Survivor has ever had. But I also think Earl is very underrated. I love him as a winner so much. His social game was on top, and I didn't add it here, but he also was extremely strategic. He knew he couldn't take Yao-Man to the end because Yao-Man was probably going to win, and he handled that final tribal council so brilliantly, even though everyone on the jury was extremely bitter and extremely toxic. We got another hot take here, but number 14, another winner. I want to see Parvati play again. I do think that her Survivor career has already been long, but I do think she makes great television. She's my favorite winner. It was really hard to put Natalie on here and not put Parvati. If we were to do 2 tribes of 10, I think I would want her on a different tribe than Natalie. But I really do want to see her back. I think her Winners at War edit was a little bit underwhelming, as it was for a lot of old school players, but I think again, if it's like a Legends season, I think it's really hard to not put Parvati on this list, right? All right, we got everyone's favorite winner ever. We got Fabio from Survivor 21 Nicaragua. I love Fabio so much. I don't think I like him for the fact that he played a great game, because he truly didn't. But I also think he got extremely lucky. But this is a reason I want to see him play again, so that he can maybe get his name back out there, and maybe he can prove that he is good at the game. I did recently look him up and see what he was up to, and he has changed quite a lot since this season.
Fabio, back in the water. Almost rolled in, Brenda. Hit the bottom and almost went in.
Pee real quick.
Are you really? Fabio, what are you doing right now?
I'm getting on the pedestal, Jeff.
What were you doing?
I'm using the restroom.
In the pool.
The water's so dirty anyways, look at it. I mean, doesn't everybody pee in the pool?
I don't know, does everybody pee in the pool?
No.
But I want to see a good boys alliance. You know, I want to see Fabio and Christian teaming up. I want to see all these permutations and all these combinations of people that just would be a dream to me, right? That rounds out my winner picks. But we're gonna go back and finish off with these last 5. At number 16, I decided to pick someone from season 1. And that person was Colleen Haskell. She was close to being my favorite from that season if it weren't for Greg. But from what I hear, Greg is not really available to play again because of his job. And I think Colleen would be a bit more of a realistic pick. 25 years after playing season 1, 50 season gap would be really awesome to see. She was one of the first people to sort of troll the show, and she was very refreshing to watch in that season. I don't want to see her play a game like Kelly Wigglesworth in Cambodia, because Kelly Wigglesworth coming back after 30 seasons to play again, only to be under-edited and not play super great, was somewhat underwhelming. She didn't really pop. She didn't really jump off the screen. And I think Colleen could if she did come back. Cocaine. Shane Powers is one of the funniest people to ever play, right? He was robbed of a return for second chances, and he very much deserves to play again. He was surprisingly close to getting to the end. I don't think he would have won, but Shane has potential. He has powers. He's one of the more interesting and organic people to ever watch on the show. I kind of threw him on here mostly as a entertainment quality factor, but we need Shane back in the limelight. I don't think many people would disagree with this either. From Survivor Palau, we have Stephanie LaGrossa. Stephanie played 2 extremely good games in both Palau, where she was the last remaining member of her original tribe, and Survivor Guatemala, where she ended up in the final 2. I think her success on the Traders has sort of brought her back to the attention of some of the fans of Survivor, and I think there's enough interest to see her back. I think with Stephanie, though, we would also need to see Bobby John Drinkard from Survivor Palau and Guatemala. They have played together twice. We need the duo back. He's extremely challenge tough. I don't know if he's a challenge beast, but he is athletic. I don't really know how he is now. I know that all these older school people are older now, but it would still be interesting to see them back. And Bobby John is someone I don't see people talk about enough. Back when he played season 10 and 11, he was a fan favorite, and then he just kind of fizzled out. But I threw him in here sort of to balance out the villainous people in the season as well. I needed someone to be a hero, and I thought Bobby John would be perfect for this role. Last but not least, we have Kelly Kim from Island of the Idols. Great player, great television on a terrible season. Her vote out made me and everyone who watches the show furious. I think she got really screwed over by production. She got screwed over by a certain individual. she got screwed over by the game, right? And like I said, I think these new era seasons, they're getting progressively better and rely less on advantages. And I think it would be nice to see her play again, where she would be less likely to get screwed over. Just some honorable mentions so that people don't get mad at me for just not considering these people. But some winners that I was thinking about including but did not were Todd. I think Todd is a big one. But Todd is one of my favorite winners. Another winner, Dee Valladares from 45. I think a lot of people consider her to be one of the best winners of the new era. Even though we have not finished the new era, I think that could remain. And Sophie Clark from South Pacific and Winners at War. I liked her on South Pacific, but I think I liked her even more on Winners at War. And her game really evolved between that time period she played. I think her social game got a lot better. And honestly, she's like one of the smartest people to ever play. Some non-winners, I have Courtney Yates from Survivor China and Heroes vs. Villains. She's really, really funny and really iconic. Whenever you watch her on the show, you get a sense that she really doesn't care, and that's amazing to us, right? And we got Jerry Manthe. Jerry Manthe has one of the best stories in Survivor ever. The only reason I'm not including her is because I think she has already had such a great story, and I think throwing her in again would kind of mess it up a little bit. If she were to be asked back, I would be there for it, but I do think that her narrative within Survivor is complete. And we got two villainous men that I considered as well. Johnny Fairplay kind of got a raw deal with season 16 Micronesia, and I always sympathized with him in that case, but he really is one of the greatest villains of the show, and I think they would be remiss to not consider him coming back. And then we got Q Burdett from 46. He's the most recent person I have considered because he is sort of like the star of season 46. He is quite villainous in the same way that Coach is villainous, and that's kind of a big reason why I didn't throw him on this list, as well as that it's a little too recent to tell. And my biggest omission was Rick Devens from Edge of Extinction. I do think that if they have a returning player season, I do think Rick is like almost certainly coming back. I'm not like the biggest Devens head, but I wouldn't hate seeing him back, but like I'm really impartial to him. I think mostly just because I'm impartial to that season. I think he's a little too like TV for me to like really enjoy. That might sound stupid. I like Rick Devens. It's just in the case of a returning player season, I want to see all of these greats. But that's it. I mean, who did you guys consider for Survivor 50? I know there's like a lot of players, 700 to be more exact, and it was really hard to narrow down 20 people to pick, so I'm not quite sure how the producers are going to do it, especially considering some people might say no, but I'm hoping that they knock it out of the park with an amazing cast. I don't want them to pick just game body players. I want them to pick really interesting picks, maybe even stuff I've never thought about, right? Go ahead and pick Reed from San Juan del Sur, or like Marissa from Survivor Samoa, just like pick random people and just like see what happens. I'm okay with that. I want them to do their magic. But that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.